Why do we need a better money story? Because most of us created stories that limit us, cause struggle, and keep us trapped in scarcity. And as you grow your business and each new level of success you hit, you're going to need a money story that acts like a magnet, automatically pulling you to that next level of financial success. You are listening to Amplify Your Success Podcast, episode 291. And today, I hope to inspire you to elevate your money story. You ready for this? Let's get started. Welcome to the Amplify Your Success Podcast. Get ready to ramp up your revenue, amplify your impact, and make your mark in the world. This is the show for experts, thought leaders, and service professionals who want to shatter their limits and achieve that next level. You're going to find out from other experts and influencers how they made it. Now, let's get amplified. Hey there, inspired entrepreneurs, change makers, and expert-based business owners. It's your host, Melanie Benson here. And today, we're elevating your money story. Now, a little backstory on this episode. As you know, I focus a lot on helping people amplify their visibility so they can make a greater impact. And I, of course, want the growth of your income to be right in alignment with that. And as we've been growing these expert-based business owners and Amplify Your Authority Inner Circle, one of the things that comes up now and again is money stories that hold you hostage in not feeling confident raising your prices, in believing that you don't have the capacity or the capability to grow. And what I see through my lens of the world is that when people get stuck, oftentimes they have a well-written money story that feels so real to them, they cannot imagine it can be different. And it's literally like we have created this paradigm that there is no other possibility and you get stuck in it. I've been there myself. I see it when my clients get there, and with my training in neurolinguistic programming and having studied high vibration consciousness and what it really takes to be the person that can have a greater impact and allow the profitability and the financial abundance to follow is a lot of times you have to change your money story. You have to up-level it. You have to be willing to co-create with your subconscious and your conscious mind, a very powerful story, even if you don't know how it's going to be revealed. And so today, I want to inspire you to up-level your money story with me, to elevate who you're being and how you're going about growing the reach of your work, expanding your visibility, elevating your authority, all of that good stuff. So I'm going to give you a little sneak peek into what we're covering in an upcoming month of Amplify Your Authority Inner Circle. If you know it's time to elevate your money story, I've got a couple different ways I can help you. One, I would really encourage you to request a fast track consultation with me, and we can explore if joining the Amplify Your Authority Inner Circle is your best path, or if you'd be better served by doing a deep dive VIP expansion day. I'll hook all that up in the show notes for you. If you go to melaniebenson.com/coaching, you'll see all the options that are available right now. But for today, let's elevate your money story. We all have money stories, and your money story is either helping you create the abundance and the level of impact and success you're dreaming about and that you always imagine for yourself, or it's causing you to feel trapped in struggle, scarcity, conflict, and maybe even like an up and down cash flow roller coaster. Maybe you're not even out of the starting gate yet and you're wondering like, what is wrong? I want to talk about money stories today because I have found that as we reach new levels of success, as we hit new milestones in our business and in the work that we're doing, oftentimes our deep internal stories kick in and they play out, and completely unconsciously, you may start to realize, oh my gosh, I am sabotaging, I'm holding myself back. I want to explore this with you today because creating a new money story is very powerful. It's very doable. It's one of the easiest things to do. And yet it's one of the hardest things to recognize in your journey. So let's explore this a little bit. I've had people ask me like, well, what do you mean by a money story? So I've been teaching money and mindset for close to 15 years now. And mostly because I had to recode and rewire my own relationship with money. I did not drop into entrepreneurship with this grand, abundant mindset where I knew I could achieve significant success. I had to recode almost every thought pattern I had, every belief, every habit in order to be able to sustain more financial flow. And a lot of this was rooted in my money story. So, a money story is a story you tell yourself about why you are where you are right now with money. I mean, we can apply this to anything, right? But let's talk about money today. And I like to think of money stories. They're a lot like a software program, right? It's coding that is constantly operating, that's driving a behavior or a set of actions and activities. And so I like to think of them like it's a software program that's consciously operating underneath our conscious thoughts. And it's driving our beliefs, our habits, our decisions, and oftentimes dictating what we will be able to accomplish, what we'll allow ourselves to focus on, what we will allow ourselves to believe is possible, and maybe even desire. Like I see money stories oftentimes literally like dictating what someone will allow themselves to want. So our money stories are very often hardwired in during our childhood, either from our parents who mean well but have their own money stories, or other influential figures in our lives, or it could be teachers, clergy, community, other family members, and can oftentimes be locked in through a trauma or repeated conditioning. So our money stories are a very powerful part of how we show up around money and success. When our money story starts to form, we have a belief system that starts to develop, and that belief system, it reinforces the story. And so the reason we call it a money story is because oftentimes when we think about why we don't have something, or why other people have what we don't have and we want, or you kind of challenge yourself and like, why am I not where I want to be? We tell ourselves a story, or we tell other people's story. And we tell that over and over and over again. And so it becomes an automatic response. It becomes our truth until we recognize that we can shift that. And oftentimes we are telling that story to rationalize or justify why that gap between what we want and what we have. And it makes us feel a little bit better about ourselves, because it's like, it's our story. It's like become our identity, for lack of a better way to say it. It's funny, you know how Facebook pops up those little memories about posts that you've done several years ago? Well, as I was thinking about what I want to talk about in today's Amplify Live, a memory popped up about a post I did when I was teaching Money DNA as a standalone program. And Money DNA Mastery is one of my signature programs that's in the Amplify Inner Circle. And it's all about how to recode your money and your mindset, your relationship with money and the mindset around it. And this is the quote that popped up: nothing external is going to fix what internally I cannot accept as a possibility. Let me read that again, because it's very powerful, right? Nothing external is going to fix what internally I cannot accept as a possibility. So here's what I mean by that. If your money story is convincing you and keeping you locked into a belief that you can't have more money, more success, or something of that nature, then it doesn't matter what you learn from me as your coach. It doesn't matter what you learn out there. You will find a way to internalize a pattern to sabotage or lose interest or get overwhelmed and not complete something. Our patterns are very strong that come from these money stories. So bottom line, how do we know if we have a money story that's limiting us? How do we know we have a money story that's aligned with the goals that we're setting for ourselves? your current reality. Whatever your current reality is what your story is designed to repeat. It's like what you've locked in. And so if you don't like the current financial situation, you don't like how money is flowing in your life, or you secretly pine for a different life, maybe you've never even said it out loud, or you are still striving for something and it's never come to fruition, chances are you're locked in where you are right now because of the story. The story becomes your paradigm. And our unconscious mind, what I call the prime director, is programmed to keep you exactly where you are, partially because it wants to be safe and partially because this is the conditioning. This is the conditioned outcome. Now, the good news is no matter what your current story is, you can unlock that and recode it and shift it. So let's explore some of the money stories that I hear people share that I experience as limiting for them. And they come to realize are limiting for them. I'm going to hit some of the high notes of ones that have showed up over the last couple years. I hear people with the story of I'm not ready for more money. And meaning I'm not ready to grow. I'm not ready for whatever's coming next. Again, it's a story. I'm not capable of that business model that would deliver a predictable 6-figure or 7-figure income. I would have to give up this, which feels super important. So you plug in whatever that is, time, freedom, time to take care of myself, whatever that is, if I make more money, which creates this deep conflict, obviously. I'm not good with money. So why should I bother to make more money? Because I'm just going to be bad with it and I'm going to spend it all, or I'm going to give it all away, or I'll lose it. I'm a screw up. That's a big one, right? Like I'm a screw up. I like, that's just who I am. Like, and these are deep, by the way. You may not even realize this is an undercurrent for you. This may be so deep in your childhood memories, or so deep in a pattern that you have a story around that's something else, but this is the root of it. Okay. So it could be part of the money story. I don't know how to charge more or make more. Okay. So the story is like, I don't know how to do it. So I don't. Here's a big one. And this one just kind of hits me right here every time, is I'm broken. Okay. Well, that's trauma speaking, right? I'm broken. Nothing I do works. Like I can't figure this out. I'm not meant for business. That's a story. That's not the truth. If I make more money, I won't have time for my partner, my spouse, love, dating, whatever that thing is, my children, because I'm going to be too busy, right? So when you think about for a moment, and maybe your money story is totally dialed in and it's getting you everything you want. And maybe I'm having to work too hard for the money I'm making is the story. It's like you've locked yourself into, I need to be a high performer. I have to be working all the time to keep this machine going, right? Sometimes as we hit new levels, or I have to do it all myself. So if I'm going to grow, I got to do more. I don't want to do more. So the story gets locked in. Lots of different ways our stories are limiting what could be possible. So one of the things I love doing with the members of Amplify Your Authority Inner Circle is I love showing people how to shatter their story that's locking them into what they don't want, and help them elevate their story into something more powerful. So their story shows them how to write the script of what they do want. So powerful. And we're actually getting ready to focus on this in Amplify Your Authority Inner Circle, because it's time to elevate again. So how do we do this? Well, I do believe that there's some customization, there's some personalization that needs to happen here. I'm not a one size fit all cookie cutter type coach. You probably figured that out. But let me just share with you some of the steps involved. The first one is you got to be aware that you are telling a story that is limiting you. And I got to tell you, your story feels so real and so common. It's become a best friend or a frenemy, depending on how you look at it, right? But it's like your second skin. And you may not even realize that the story you're telling is limiting yourself. And this is where being part of a collective conversation that's up-leveling your mindset, your vibration, your way of seeing things is a very powerful piece of growth. And if you're not aware that your story is limiting you, you'll live in that story for a very long time. So you have to become aware of how the story is limiting you. And secondly, why did that story become your story? Like, what's the root of it? So I've worked with some clients, sometimes for months and years, before we could really pinpoint the real catalyst underneath their story. How does that story continue to lock them into behavior that's not serving them? And it takes sometimes going deep into the story to unravel it. And this is what I call recoding sessions. And my clients, when I'm working with them at VIP level, I have the great privilege to hold space for that and to help unravel these money stories that aren't serving them. And it can be very, very powerful to shed layers and layers and layers, lifetimes, decades sometimes, of a story that you're like, oh my God, this story, I don't know why it's holding on to me like this. It's because your prime director, that part of you that's driving to hold that story in place, is at war with the part of you that's stretching and out of your comfort zone. I think another step that's really often overlooked is to just take a few minutes to kind of like take a step back and say, what do I want? So I'm not going to tell you what you should want. This is you. This is your personality. But know that oftentimes what we allow ourselves to want is colored by the story. And I like to stretch people outside of what they think they want into what's possible. Doesn't mean you have to say yes to it. But sometimes the stretching of somebody outside of what they think they want and into what is really, really good for them and what is in alignment with them and what will shatter that story has to come from the outside until somebody's ready to shed that story. So what do you want? And even if you are thinking you're playing small and playing it safe, listen to the voice, the little part of you that's like secretly wanting something that you're afraid to say out loud because you don't want to be disappointed again, right? Fourth, what story would you need to tell to support that? This is where it gets really fun. Like, we get to be the story writers of our destiny, of our full potential. How could you write a story that supports what you do want? Even if it's a micro step towards it and it's not a big leap, doesn't matter. For some people, this is the breakthrough moment, is to recognize that you're in control of the story. The truth is, we're at choice every second of every day. And we get to choose whether or not we're going to craft a story that supports a goal and a dream and an outcome that we want, or if we're going to keep telling the story that's locking us into misery or overwhelm or stress or dissatisfaction. And I would like to see you step into a story that is so cool and so surprisingly awesome, maybe something you never even knew you wanted, and make that story real. Your story is your program. And if you don't like the story, change the story. Let's upgrade the story. Let's make the story more powerful. Yeah, I know we're going to probably be pushing a lot of buttons today. This is deep work sometimes for people. This may be unlocking traumas and fears and things that you've been living with for a very long time. Just know it's all possible. And if you know you're ready, I would highly recommend joining us in Amplify Your Authority Inner Circle, or book a fast track call with me. And let's figure out what story you need to be telling right now. How do we unlock that greater potential, excuse me, and shatter those limits that have been holding you hostage because your story is too small? I really want to hear where the ahas are from today. If you're already in Amplify Your Authority Inner Circle and you're listening to this live, awesome. And if you're listening to this later, come on into the group and tell us about it, or book that fast track call. Thanks for tuning in today, Amplifier. Be sure to join us right now in the Amplify Your Authority community at authorityamplifiers.com, and I'll share my 7 proven tips to be a highly paid expert that stands out in a crowded market. Plus, we're going to keep this conversation going, and I want to hear from you how you're going to amplify your authority and make a greater impact. Before you go, please take a minute to give our show and our guests some love over on your favorite podcasting platform. Subscribe, rate, and review. Leave your full name, and I'll spotlight you and your authority on social media.